on behalf of Sriaurobindo Integral Life Center, Auro University, Surat, and aurobharati Sriaurobindo Center, Pondicherry, I invite you, I welcome you, all of you, to the discourse Kala Evam Adhyatma. This is the fourth session, and till now we were discussing with Velu Mehraji, and today we have new guest, though he is our own person, Dr. Narendra Joshi ji. Welcome, Dr. Joshi. Just I'll give little, short introduction of Dr. Narendra Joshi ji. Dr. Narendra Joshi ji is a project director, Vivekanand Prabodhini, and he's adjunct visiting professor of Foundation of Indian Culture at Auro University, Surat. He has more than 30 years of industry experience. He is a researcher and academician. He has another side of, beside being researcher, he is a digital designer, and I have seen some of the work presented by him or shared by him. He is a writer, speaker, poet, and music lover. He has he is very, very efficient in talking about national education policy. He is a counselor, Indologist, and scholar, and he talks on topics like Swami Vivekananda and Sriaurobindo. He is also expert in talking, giving talks on Upanishad, Bharatiya Shiksha, Bharatiya Rajniti, Arthaniti, Kautilya, Arthashastra, ancient science and technology, Puranas, history, Gita, consciousness studies. He has done illustration for 3 books, and those books are now published. Light and New Physics of in the series called Light and New Physics of Consciousness. I welcome Dr. Narendra Joshi on behalf of Sriaurobindo Integral Life Center and all the guests who are present over here. Thank you so much. Well, please.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this wonderful series and for this introduction as well, Kiranji. So this is a very wonderful initiative, very apt initiative taken by Sriaurobindo Integral Life Center, Learning Center, Auro University. And we have seen 3 previous talks by Veluji on this particular theme, Kala Evam Adhyatma. And that's why I thought she has set the tone very well, introduced the whole thing. And therefore, I can go ahead with little more, whatever I have understood for that, and then we can discuss on that. I would like to present my screen. So Satyaji, can you just allow me to present it? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can now present, sir.
I can present. Okay. Just let me go to my slide. I hope it is visible now. And I'll try to present few slides and few ideas which I could gather. And of course, there are very learned audience here, and all are experts in their own field. I'm happy to note people from various expertise, including artists are also there, designers are there, scholars are there, Indian culture and Sriaurobindo scholars are there. So it's a wonderful gathering where I can put some of my ideas which I have understood, and possibly you can add more colors to that or more shades to that, and together we can learn more. So this is how I try to understand this subject. And I'll talk for some time, show some of the slides, and if you want to stop me in between and ask some questions, we can stop after a few slides. Otherwise, I'll complete my part and then we'll open it for discussion as it is preferred. Let us start with what do we mean by art in general. So art is all about some lines, some colors, some shapes, some curves, some patterns, and a rhythm. We can see a ancient temple architecture's part here. It is from Sun Temple. There is a painting of Gautam Buddha, a typical way it has been put up, or Padma Sambhava and all these other people. The third part is a digital design done by me. And obviously, three different ways of expressing something. But what strikes here is something similar in all of them. There are some lines, colors, combinations, shapes, patterns, a beautiful mix of linearity and circularity. And then there are some symbols. There is a visual delight and a rhythm in this entire thing. Ultimately, that results in a aesthetic experience, what we consider as rasa. And so well it has been put up that raso vaisaha in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna Bhagavan says, I am that sap, I am that essence, I am that excellence which flows through everything. So wherever we see this experience of delight, the experience of rasa, the experience of something essential in all other things which are non-essential. And we immediately feel ananda. We feel something delightful about it, blissful about it. And it cannot be always expressed or analyzed what exactly we felt good about it, but it's soothing. It's something very pleasing. That is that experience of art, according to me. And therefore, if we just try to understand how this whole subject comes from actually, and we realize possibly that all these things, the colors, the shapes, the patterns, the rhythms, they are possibly very much there in the nature. Various plants, the trees, the flowers, the shells, even the insects, the birds flying in one of the evening, you can just watch them, how they are going together. And not just some typical ideas that this flower is useful or this shape is useful or this animal or this bird is useful. I mean, this all these people are beautiful. These are some stereotypes created. But what we find, what at least I have found, is every shape, every flower, every part of the tree, not just the flower, and even the so-called not that acknowledged to be beautiful insects and the birds and the animals, everything has got a sense of art, a beautiful expression of something artistic. And that's why we feel, I mean, this is such a great inspiration. But it's not the only thing we do. We don't want to imitate the nature. As we all know, Indian art is just not imitation of nature. It tries to go far beyond that. But nature itself provides you a lot about this being aesthetic, being artistic. And that's why, as I said, Sriaurobindo has written one poem on crow. It's a very beautiful poem. Because generally we think crow, what is there to write about that? People can write about peacock, they can write about some eagle or other. But then, yes, there is everything is that chit shakti, that conscious force is acting through everything. And she has been so meticulous. She has been so perfect, so harmonious in expressing her power through everything. That's why in Sanskrit they say there is a little strong but very interesting Subhashita. And they say about that, in fact, it comes in Niti Shataka of Bhartruhari. It says, Sahitya Sangita Kala Vihina Sakshat Pashu Pucha Vishanahin. No offense, but it means a person who is devoid of interest in music, literature, and arts is indeed an animal. Just because he is not having horns and tails does not mean that he is elevated to be a human being. He cannot be called a human being. So the very point where we actually had that evolutionary curve from being an animal to the human being was something which gave us Sahitya Sangita Kala. All these things came with that. That's what this means. Sahitya, Sangeet, Kala ke ruchi, isme ruchi na rakhne wala. We are not saying you should be expert in all these things. But you don't even like it, you don't feel anything about it. You don't get stirred. Your soul does not get stirred when you see something artistic. Then there is something to be really worried about. That's what this thing says. And all over the universe, you see, that's why we are coming to the point where now Swami Vivekananda and the other great people, sriaurobindo, they are going to talk about that there is a saundarya drushti, there has to be an eye for beauty, there has to be an eye for art. And Swami Vivekananda, in one of his beautiful quote, he says, in India, everything is artistic. Even a rural home or a tribal wall is so much artistically decorated. You see the walls in some of these pictures, and these are from so-called educated women in front of their homes, their doors or their walls. They are decorating it, they are drawing something with so much of passion, so much of love for art. You see their floors, their walls, their bodies, their dresses, their ornaments, their rituals, festivals, dances. Everything is full of art. Everything is full of that aesthetic, you can say, vision as well as pursuit, that we need to make everything beautiful. That is that idea. No matter what we have. That's why it does not matter whether you are monetarily rich or poor. It also does not matter whether you have got enough resources or not. You don't require perfect, combination of things, or the poster colors and acrylic colors or digital media in today's language. I should have only Procreate and iPad, then only I can create great art. Nothing like that. They saw a wall in front of them. That blank space has given them an innate drive to create something. That's what. So in India, everything is artistic. Everybody is artistic, he says. Is it something which has gone deep in our culture? It has come from our culture. That is something which is possibly we can find out. It must be like that. Because sriaurobindo also, when he talks in his essay on the Renaissance in India, he says, what is that characteristic soul of India? If time permits, we can take that description of what he has taken. But in short, he says, of course, spirituality is the master key of the Indian mind. The sense of infinite is native to it. But then the second element, he says, is stupendous creativity and vitality. So when there is that combination of creativity and vitality, there has to be art coming out of it. And fourth element, he says, acute intelligence, intellectuality. So these four things coming together has become the real characteristic soul or mind of India. Swami Vivekananda says something similar. He says that tough like a metal wire and yet bent into a beautiful curve. That's how is mind of India. It is tough like a wire, but yet that wire can be bent into a beautiful curve. There is always a feeling that I should make something, in a curve, in a circular part, or I should make something in a pattern. So all art is basically representing the beautiful. It is the beauty is what divine is at the physical plane, and there must be art in everything. That artistic faculty was very highly developed in our Lord Sri Ramakrishna. In one of the speeches, Swami Vivekananda is talking. When he talks on art, he is very deeply thinking, and of course the views of his views and Sri Aurobindo's views and all the other great people, they are almost going parallel to each other. Sri Ramakrishna was having great sense of artistic faculty had developed, and he used to always say that without this faculty, nobody can be truly spiritual. Very interesting thing coming from directly from the master. So without artistic faculty development, there cannot be truly spiritual development in you. I think that is what the theme of this entire series is, that kala और अध्यात्म दोनों न केवल एक दूसरे के पूरक है, लेकिन कला के मार्ग से अध्यात्म की खोज अधिक अच्छी तरह से हो सकती है, सुगम हो सकती है. So the whole life is art, and there must be artistic sense in our, not just in our paintings and sculpture and our ornaments, but it should be at all levels, at thought level, behavioral level, at expression level. So when we are having vichar, achar, uchar, all that thing has to be beautiful. All that has to be artistic. And why this is so peculiar and so important as a contribution of Indian mind, I can say is because otherwise we see some examples in the world over. We see examples where artists are great when they are doing some artistic creation. When they are painting something, they are sculpting something, when they are playing their music or singing in the concert, they appear to be divine. But in the rest of life, they find it very difficult to keep that decorum, to keep that sanctity, even to, I'm not saying all, but we have found this type of struggle in many people. And when that gap starts increasing, that their day-to-day behavior and the life and the way they take out their life and move in their mission is not matching with their artistic sensibility, and there is always some sort of, tremendous struggle life they live. That's why mother also one place she says that these people find need of having some relaxation, and in the moment of relaxation they become almost worse than what it could have been a normal behavior. So that is the that's what we are going to come to the point, right? Each entire life has to be pervaded by this artistic idea, aesthetic, and making it part of your expressions, behavior, thought, every moment of it. And then out of that comes some great creation. That's why that tapas, that constant sadhana, yoga is required. And therefore, we can see in India, as Dr. Radhakrishnan and many people have observed, this tremendous consistency, continuity. If you go from tribal art to the more civilized art, urban art, and more acknowledged Indian art, there is a continuity on its way it has been expressing the things. Interestingly, this Indian art and its way of putting things together can be even today compared with modern findings of the quantum physics and the other findings. Because there are some elements, of course, there can be a separate talk on that, but the essential elements of the quantum world are actually coming very close to the India's mandala art and the pattern art. And there are many connections which can be very easily seen into that. I remember one of the some of the writings on Gita by Vinobaji. And he also said similar thing, that there has to be, everything should be with a kala and shastra. There has to be art and science in everything. And he mentions that even in simple things, day-to-day things like brooming a floor, peeling a banana, cutting a lemon, there is an art of it. Cooking something, there is an art of it. That's why we always have paka kala, paka shastra. There is a dhatu kala, dhatu shastra. There is an art in everything. You cannot broom a floor anyway. You require more time, more efforts, and yet the floor will not be clean. And Vinobaji goes into the detail of everything. He says how to hold that broom, at what distance you should have it, what should be the inclination with the floor, and how you should move your body with that, how the hand should move. There is a joy in doing that work. There is a symphony, there is a rhythm when you do it properly. In modern management language, they call it principles of motion economy. Vinobaji is not using this word, but then he's essentially talking of this particular idea that no karma, no action is devoid of, pursuit of beauty, pursuit of truth, and pursuit of excellence. Even how to cut lemon. There is so many beautiful examples he has given. How to clean a window. He also mentions why Ram Rajya is so important. If time permits, we'll go to that, because I think time can be a point here. But he says that this was the ideal state where children used to play with the jewels, and the ocean used to get jealous that he thinks, oh, I am Ratnakar, I'm full of all the jewels, and yet the children are playing with some other jewels because the state is so prosperous. And so he used to throw his jewels on the shore so that children will play with the jewels which are thrown by the ocean. One of the Sanskrit name for ocean is Ratnakar. And beauty of the whole thing, which Goswami Tulsidas says or Vinobaji says, is that children will play with those jewels, and after the game is over, they will throw them back into the ocean. And that's the beauty of the whole thing. Even if the jewels are used and even played with, there is no attachment with that. The children have learned that because their Swami, Shri Ram, is like that. So no need to have a sort of, parigraha of anything. And that's why you see in entire Indian art, dance, drama, it's full of colors, it's full of rhythm, it's full of beauty. And as I said, there is no difference in whether you are in Nagaland, Mizoram, Punjab, or Haryana, or you are in Uttar Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, Kerala. You see this happening everywhere because the entire Indian culture or art is bound by this Navarasa, as we all know, Shringar, Hasya, Karun, Raudra, Veer, Bhayanak, Vibhats, Adbhut, Shant, and Vatsal. Vatsal was added afterwards, 10th rasa. And that is what Bharatamuni also talks in his Natya Shastra, that this is done so that people will be getting solace after their whole day's hard work when they want to take a rest. That's why these arts have been created. And one of the great artists is his drama, where all the things have been put together. Well, just to come forward from that point, Sriaurobindo tells here now, and he is talking in terms of sculpture, painting, and architecture in his essays. But from that, we can pick up the points for what we are thinking about. And there is a wonderful sentence I always feel I should remember. All art reposes on some unity. So that comes in this essay, the second essay in FIC on arts. This is the first truth of Indian architecture and its significance, which demands emphasis, and it leads at once to the answer to certain very common misapprehensions and objections. He's talking because William Archer has said that in Indian art there is no unity. That's why he makes this statement. And of course, it was a wrongly understood criticism, thoroughly wrong and grossly wrong, he says. But then what he says to explain that is something we can really cherish. He says, this want of unity or lack of unity is absolutely a wrong way of looking at it, because all art reposes on some unity. Whichever you see as the art, this is a Sheshashai in the Mandhavgarh, wild sanctuary, probably you must have seen. And these are some other famous sculptures and the parts of the temples. And all its details, whether few and sparing or lavish and crowded and full, must go back to that unity and helps its significance. Otherwise, it is not art. So Indian art will always try to go to that thread of unity. Mai sarvamidam prutam, sutre maniganayo. I am that thread which is passing through all these variations. So art is searching for that thread which is going through all the pearls of this world, to make that sutra, to make that, the manimala, the garland of pearls it is trying to make. So unity is the very essence of finding of unity and tracing the unity. Art needs to do that, and it keeps on doing that. And all the details, you may feel they are unconnected, you may feel they are lavish and crowded, and just because people had a lot of passion for detailing and crowding, they will still know. What goes through this entire thing is a beautiful idea of unity. And whether science or art or anything for that matter, ultimately, the last thing which they are trying to find out is unity. So that's what we see in any piece of Indian art. He further says, just to get this point clear more, an original oneness, not a combined or synthetic or an affected unity, is that from which this art begins. Now he has compared in between, I have just quoted in intermittently. He has quoted how Greek people try to show unity, how other civilizations try to show unity. They suppress some details so that things can look united. But Indian mind or Indian artists are not bothered about that. They will simply go with all the details. At times, there is no room, there is no pause, there is no blank space. She creates and is not exhausted, he says in another place in Renaissance. And that is because Indian people will not try to suppress the things and try to create an artificial or synthetic unity. They want that unity which can, it can come from the root of it, from the soul of it. Indian sacred architecture constantly represents greatest oneness of the self, the cosmic, the infinite, in the immensity of its world design, the multitude of its features of self-expression, lakshana. Yet the oneness is greater than and independent of the totality and itself indefinable. So that whole idea, the artist is trying to express through every small piece which he is trying to make. And all its starting, point of unity in conception, its mass of design, immensity of material, its crowding abundance of significant ornament and detail, its return towards oneness are only intelligible as necessary circumstances of this poem, this epic or this lyric. For there are smaller structures which are such lyrics of the infinite. So Indian poetry, Indian music, Indian architecture, all are actually going through the same possible, way of that searching unity through all the rhythms of it, all the detailing of it, all the diverse possible expressions of it. A rich unity, infinite unity, which is ultimately searched from infinite variety. And that's our yoga. Indian art is basically yoga. Chitta vritti nirodha. It is concentration or dharana, it is meditation, dhyan, everything is part of that. And it also became very important part of our integral education system in India. The whole brain thinking, which today people are talking a lot, that was very clearly developed through our Shikshan Paddhati or Indian model of education. Because the artist was always, he had to go through that deep tapas or this austerity, creating something like this great pieces which we see now, which have almost become immortal. We do not know the artist, but their creations have always been timeless, and they never bothered to write their names or their identity on them. And that was created out of deep invocation of dhyana mantra, visualization, worship, penance, at sometimes solitary place, leaving all the things behind. They go to that entire, very austere and sometimes very painful period of that creative, you can say, prelude of that creative moment. And ultimately, there is a flash, some idea which comes in a dream or some other point of time when they are not even thinking that the idea will come. Just like a scientist also find out at just a sudden moment after a long tapas done by them in their own field. So for an artist, it is very important to be that having that flash or that intuition or that higher consciousness to give the idea for his creation. And the artist or mantrin or yogin, and then further he says many times they all were actually same, because an artist was not supposed to be just an artist. He will be a yogi, he will be a mantra drashta, he will have so many other qualities in him. And his training used to go through all those things. He cannot be simply, the prerequisites are that he should have knowledge of Atharva Veda, he should know 32 Shilpa Shastra, he should know Vedic mantras, he should wear sacred thread and kusha, worship God, be faithful to wife. So many conditions are given to an artist. Because you are an artist means you are just like a tapasvi. You are not a cheap entertainer. In one place, Sri Aurobindo says, imagination was never a notch girl into the palaces of rich and powerful. For us, she is goddess. When you have imagination, then it is something like thinking of God. You are worship to the God. And therefore, you should know all these mantras, shastras, and austere and very, you can say, dharmic living, righteous way of behavior. That's a uchar, achar, vichar, and then his kala. They should go hand in hand. They cannot be away from each other. Otherwise, you can never create such masterpieces. All knowledge is directly available to a concentrated mind, Sri Aurobindo says. When senses are not intervening, every stroke or line is seen first. He first visualizes the whole thing before it actually comes in reality. As we famously know the shloka, dhyana vasthita tad gatena manasa pashyantiyam yogino. So in the state of that dhyana, they are able to see that pashyanti, yogi, and yogi, mantrin, kalakar, they are all one. And for us, our God is also all that, he has got all these things which are inspiring us. So that's why he should know all that, as I said. A painter was expected to be a good human being, not given to anger, holy, learned, charitable, self-controlled, devout, should work in solitude, trained by father and the member of the guild, protected by the king, not anxious for competition. He's not supposed to be very competitive and, by one way or the other way, I want to show my something like I am better than others and therefore I should get more rewards than the others are getting. That fierce competition and struggle for survival and all can never give you this type of great artistic creations. Just one example I remember, just I'm quoting that. The person who made that famous Swami Vivekananda's oil painting, and which was used for making the statue which is now in Kanyakumari. There is a Vivekananda rock memorial, at the confluence of three oceans, and then that statue was created by the sculptor. This is a modern day tale. That's why I'm telling what was there in the ancient times, same was continued in the cultural stream by us even now. So therefore, that person behind that entire thing, Eknathji Ranade, he met one of the great painter, S.M. Pandit, and he said that, sir, we want first you to make one painting of Swami Vivekananda, because this is the Shila, this is the rock where he did tapas for 3 days and 3 nights. And then he got this intuition, the mission of his life, that he should go to Chicago Parliamentary Region now. So this is a very important way to regenerate this entire nation. His inspiration will be there. If you can make ones, we can make a great Shila Smarak, rock memorial there. But to make that, we require a murti. To make a murti, before that, to make something 3D, the sculptor required something as per the tradition to make something in 2D. So who will make that painting in 2D, so that he can, from that he can take reference and make something in. Even before some months, I was with one of the great modern day painter of India, and he was assigned the duty of making Adi Shankaracharya's statue. So he was first referring to a 2D painting, and then he was converting that into very beautiful, mathematically they are trying. Shastra is still there. So same way Panditji was, S.M. Pandit was told that please you make one painting. He said, okay, I will make it. And then 1 month, 2 months are gone and there is no result from him. So ultimately these people asked, and sir, what is happening? Are you making or not making? He said, it's about Swami Vivekananda. It's not anybody and everybody. I require at least 6 months to first, control myself from many things which I am doing. So first let me live some life, at least as a, minuscule proportion of what Swami Vivekananda was. If I can do at least 2%, 3% of what he did, then I will touch my canvas and I will start painting. Not till that. Otherwise, it will become a very ordinary picture. I don't want it. So they allowed him with all, reverence, and he took that much time to prepare himself. That's all true story in just about 100 years back, not even 100 years back, about 80 years back. 34 plus 20, 50 years, sorry. 1963, it all started after China War. So, and then he's made that painting, which is now world famous. People think that is the real picture of Swami Vivekananda, but actually it's a imagination of an artist. His real black and white pictures are not that popular. This picture is more popular today. Why he was able to capture that essence of Swami Vivekananda's soul and his genius, his expressions, because he went through that, what we just now talked, invoking that entire thing, visualizing, worship, penance, solitude. And that's where the Uma Parvati had done penance for Shiva. That's the background of it. That's why that place was important. But when this rock memorial was made, he approached many great people, including Swami Chinmayananda was there, Kanchi Kammukuti's Parmacharya was there. And when there was some problem in architecture, I remember some similar incident in Mother's life also was there, I think. And these architects or the technical experts used to go and ask these great gurus like Shankaracharya and all these people, and they will tell them something, just move this little bit. I don't think this is looking right. This is not right. And what they did and what they suggested was followed by these Thapatis. In Rock Memorial, they followed the ideas by these great spiritual masters, because they believed that this higher prajna or this higher realized people, they, even though they have not traditionally learned architecture and engineering and all that, but still they have the right intuition of what to do and what not to do, which will look aesthetic, which will be good from engineering point of view. So all these people gave some suggestions. Based on their suggestions, things were collated together, and then the great monument was created. I think I can stop here for a while. If there is something you can add, and then if time permits, then I will go ahead, because this is all, a huge topic. I don't think we can cover in. There are many slides more, but I think I will just wait for some time. Maybe some people can come in and add something to that.
I think, yeah, it is a huge topic, Narendraji. And you brought so many aspects in the discussion. Even I would like to invite people over here who would like to share their views on this, the presentation which Narendraji has done. Narendra ji, I was thinking that you would share your work also, the work which digital art formation which you do, mandala.
Yeah.
So I wish.
So they're coming afterwards. They're coming. Maybe should I go further? I can.
I
If
think
there are some
you
questions.
continue. Yeah, I think you continue and then we will
Yeah.
discuss. Yeah.
So I'll just try to see how much I can do in this. Just briefly, I'm telling you
Yes.
what Roger Sperry afterwards told as right brain and left brain, that right brain is for arts, poetry, idealism, and left is for the rational thinking, mathematics and science and all that thing, philosophy. And there is today a great amount of attention given to the left brain. Right is mostly neglected because people think art is just like some entertainment or just a sort of pastime. But in ancient India, or if you see the writings of all these great stalwarts, including obviously sriaurobindo will be one of the master in that. He mentions much before Roger Sperry that there is a right and left brain, and the right has to be given equal or if not more importance than the left. Because actually when your right part is developed, your creative side, artistic side is developed, even left will get more intensity to go ahead. So it's not that these two are opposite to each other. In other civilizations, they many times they work opposite to each other. If you want to become rational, you cannot be aesthetic. If you want to become aesthetic, you cannot become rational. Or if you want to become ethical, then it may not be the famous hedonist period of the Western world, where when they pursue beauty, they cannot pursue ethics. When they pursue ethics, they cannot pursue beauty. I mean, the extremes I'm talking. But when a civilization or the culture is well rooted in this basic idea that there are two components of our brain as well as our personality, and Sri Aurobindo puts it, as I said, much before this Nobel laureate person who has done the paper on that. And we need to take care. But what further Sri Aurobindo tells that what has happened now is today the judgment or the criticism or the intellect has become slave to the lower instincts and the comforts and the luxuries. And then that's why it tries to justify even the lower elements of our human being rather than stopping them. And in that whole process, tries to intellectualize everything. Art has today become just ornamental, cornered in some negligible place, or it gets cheap commercial use. And that is exactly not what we are supposed to be doing. There are some details of that, but he further says aesthetic sides of people's culture is the highest importance and demands almost as much scrutiny and carefulness of appreciation as philosophy, religion, and central formative ideas. Because basically that gives you passage to the higher consciousness. It is a link between intellect and intuition. So when you try to develop artistic faculty, when you go through that, sometimes you get to know some things more intuitively. There are some problems which you are not able to solve, but when you actually try to make it a picture of it, a figure of it, or if you try to visualize it, you get a higher idea which can be dawning upon it. It's my own experience, as you were telling, I can just share in a brief that when I was working on a very critical problem of, I was given a problem of research in Northeast India, where there all things are looking very, opposite to what we understand as typical Indian culture. Their rituals, their customs, and their way of worship, and their, many things were there. Architecture was missing. So what to do now? Completely tribal dominant part was there, insurgency, lack of development, economic problems. So I was completely lost in that detail, that how to solve, from where to start and from where to end this entire research, because so many disciplines are coming in that. And then after a lot of thinking, I gave up. I said, it's not working now today, or maybe it will never work in my life. And I remember it was a very dark evening, and we used to have that laltane, because there was no electricity. That thing. So I was carrying that, and then I was sitting, and I had a piece of paper, and on that, I don't know why, I started drawing something. I'm not from a classical artistic background. I'm from technical background, but I felt that I should draw now because the problem is not getting solved. Let me draw it. Maybe after drawing, the problem will get solved. So this is a very experiential thing. When I started drawing it, I realized this can be now done. And when I completed that full picture, I realized this is nothing but an inverted pipala tree. which our Kathopanishad or Gita is mentioning. So that's how my own understanding of art started, because I realized it is a passage to higher development. There are some papers also on that, which afterwards, if there is more intense study we are taking, we can take it, where art integration and cognitive development is taken up. And as I was telling you, I may go through it little fast to complete it. But as I was telling you, in India, there is, everything, every pursuit will have a Shastra and Kala. There will be a science of it and there is a art of it. It is to facilitate Kam and Artha, the two Purusharthas within the boundaries of Dharma. And pursuit of beauty, pursuit of good, they were never having struggle with each other, because the very core idea of India is Satyam Shivam Sundaram or Satyam Jnanam Anantam, Satchit Ananda. So these two components are not opposite to each other. They can be coming very flawlessly, very integrally with each other as a Akhanda Rasa, or a delightfulness of the whole thing. Our God is a great example of that. You can see a child playing Krishna here, and so beautiful. In our, there is so much freedom, art only progresses when there is a freedom of expression. So here somebody can play Krishna, a child can play it, and people admire it. Elder people also feel this is a nice portrayal. We are not going to immediately call the person blasphemous, that this is not looking like our idea of God and all. Let him play how he wants. And that's why he's looking actually, because his bhav is like that. He's emoting it. He may not be actually that educated about what Sri Krishna said, but he's able to absorb that beautifully. So that's not that Shama Sundar, he is a beauty and love. The same Krishna who is telling the Vedanta and the other Sarvopanishados, entire Upanishad is telling in Gita, such a great philosopher, he is primarily very beatific. He is so delightful. He is so charming. So that combination of intellect or the higher intellect with beauty is not something which is very difficult for us. We are able to do it so easily because of our culture. And therefore, a complete and universal appreciation of beauty and the making entirely beautiful our whole life, that must be the necessary character of a perfect individual and perfect society. Sri Aurobindo is now taking it to a social and political thought. As we go ahead, we'll realize he even takes it to the subjective turn and true subjectivity, and what is going to be the next part of the human cycle. He takes up to that point. But as you said, maybe I will try to show some, if I have in this, I don't know. Yeah. So this is a one mandala by me. I mean, this is not digital one. This is done by hand. But what I found, why, and we separately teach now. I just as a passion, I teach mandala to many people, and they also, irrespective of your age or your, you can learn it at any point of your life. Why? Because from ancient times we have such art or artistic methods of healing. When you draw it, and this is drawn. I mean, when you start drawing this one, you can imagine it is done by pen, simple, but it has got a mathematics. So that's what I was telling. Now, what we learned in all these slides, let us take an example of that. There is acute intelligence and reason behind it, because there are concentric circles and 5 concentric circles which are intersecting with each other. And these 5 circles together are making this something like a petals of a flower. Now, how they are making it, how these things are expanding, this is something to be actually done and experienced. This is my experience, that you should do it. You cannot explain it. It has to be done. You draw the circles, you draw the squares. And one of the problem with ancient India was, very interesting problem was, what is the connection between circle and square? If I want to make a circle of the same area of the square, how I will make it? If I give you a square and tell you of same area, you make one circle, how will you make it? So this type of riddles were given to these students, because then they will learn mathematics, they will learn trigonometry, they will learn pi and every other things. But more than that, they will start drawing it. They will try to do something by themselves. And sooner or later, they will realize the whole thing is something same as our philosophy, same as our art, same as our science. All things are coming together in this. So this is a square and circle problem. But when we complete the picture, when I completed it, I realized that it's not mathematics actually. It is just beautiful. It has given me so much of time to spend on that. you typically you require some hours to complete it. And that is the time when you can enjoy, you can just concentrate there, you can be in silence. It's a way of concentration and meditation, because if you tell somebody to meditate for 2 hours, it is very difficult. At least for a person like me, I cannot meditate, to be very honest. I'll feel restless in between. But if you tell me to draw something for 2 hours, and you give me an idea that okay, I can do it, and I enjoy that. At the end of the day, or end of that time, I realize, oh, this is a way it has got completed. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate. So it was complete when I started here from the inner circle. It was complete when I went to the outer circle. It was always complete. What was not complete was me. When I completed it, I got bit more completed myself. So the pictures are always complete. The art is always there in everything. You need discovery of that. You need somebody to discover it, that it was already there. So this is one example, just a simple example I give. I was not knowing, otherwise I would have brought more pictures, which I have done. But as I said, this is also a digital drawing. So you see, we said once that, and I also agree on that, it's not enough to just simply tell people that we were great in the past. Our mandiras were having great ceilings, which were beautiful designs, and our pillars were more beautiful, like. But my humble point is, what we are doing now, if we are not able to recreate that entire greatness in the modern times with the modern means, it just lies there as some archaeological visiting places where people will visit for one day and they will come back as they were. So, I mean, they will carry some great things, great memories, but they will not be able to actually experience it. So let us do that ourselves. I saw something, I want to do it myself and create something similar to that. And then that now, because of the technology, it can be created now. You have got great technological tools for that. Computer tools are there. Mobile, there are apps for that. Many different ideas you can bring into that. And it can be done. How it can be done? Yes, again, little bit of practice and training and concentration will be required. But I think hundreds like this have been done now in last 3-4 years. If you find that I'm not talking, you must be concluding that I'm doing some mandala. So it has become so such a everyday practice. But as I said, it's the way of, for common man, these artistic expressions were helpful for following some deep yogic or the other ideas, because otherwise they cannot do this so easily. So that was the way they were putting the things. I'll just see if I got, yeah. This is one of the illustration done when I was telling you, we have got now series of books, and one of the other scholar of sriaurobindo, Pravir Malik ji, he's writing that. And I am very fortunate that he, and this particular part was done by Leon Pretorius and I have been illustrating that. So I'm really lucky that he has thought that I should be doing illustrations for the book, because the book is about mathematical heart of complex system depicted in Indian arts. But Indian art was added afterwards. First the book title was Mathematical Heart of Complex Systems. And now the full book is full of mathematics. Then he and me, we were talking for many days. We have talked. Now this is the third part. Now fourth part has also come. 4 parts are now published. 5th we are working now. So we need to understand Sriaurobindo and his great, I mean, he was so much ahead of time. So when he talks something in FIC or human cycle or life divine, according to me, if we understand it now with this modern age, with their technological problems, management problems, and all these things, then he becomes still more understandable, and we can enjoy the way he has taken the whole thing. So here, even though the whole topic was about mathematics and the complex systems, this particular part I'm talking, I also got some other parts where there are other examples taken from other parts of Indian art and culture. But here particularly, I found where I can try to polarize this entire mathematical model. And I remember there is a beautiful tale in Indian, you can say, Puranas and the scriptures about Samudra Manthana. And if you see, it has also become a great giant sculpture when you go to Southeast Asia, where great temples are there. So this is the entire one complete long wall has been carved to create a Samudra Manthanam. So there is a typical, this complex mathematical system was shown by recreating that exact sculpture which was there in that temple. So I guess this is how we are trying to, in my own small capacity, I'm trying to find out whether we can connect these things, which already these great masters have told us that they are all connected. There is, all art reposes on some unity. So on one side, if there is a mathematical complex equation, on the other side, there is a, Angkor Wat or the other temple in Cambodia or the other places, then there must be some unity in them. And we need to find it out. Where is that unity? Otherwise, we will not solve the puzzle of this. Indian temple is one of the greatest, you can say, expression of Indian thought. And Sriaurobindo has also talked about it at length in his essays, that how you should see Indian temple. And there is, we can bring out so many things into that. There is fractals, there is Mandelbrot series, there is so many technologies in that. But it will take time to possibly get into that. But these are a few examples I wanted to just put to you in the time which was there. I think I will stop here and possibly more people can talk more things on this. Thank you.
Satyaji, I think you can, put all the people here on one screen. And I invite the participants over here who has enrolled here. I think Narendra ji is an amazing, presentation you have done. It connects with the presentation which you have done is like, it reminds me about the discussion happened in Advaita Vedanta, where it talks about entity that has kind of 5 characteristics like existence, cognizability, inherent appeal, form, and name. And the first 3, that is existence, cognizability, and inherent appeal, is leads to the aesthetic sense. And this transport us, and other 2 are like, the reality of our life. So when you go through this, form of arts, different form of arts, you can feel that, that purna, completeness, when you the art transport you, and it leads you towards completeness. Otherwise, the reality, when we are dealing with reality, it is the experience which we go through, it is in fragmented way. But when you are with the art, it gives you complete, purna experience. And it is very close to, I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but this is my personal experience. It leads to your that, ananda, that satchit ananda wala, because you are actually not, by seeing even, you are not seeing just outer reality, but it kind of opens up your inner kind of, it makes you conscious.
True.
So it is so amazing experience, and this discussion is so deep. I hope that everybody is liking, and I would really request other artists and scholars who are gathered here to share their views, please. Or they may share their own experience. It's not necessary that we continue with the same discussion. Anybody who is interested? Binduji, are you there? Because Binduji, I've seen that, last time I could not attend, but I saw all the videos and I saw Binduji, sharing her views. Okay, I think there is no gesture here. So,
Hi,
Acha.
this is Daljit.
Daljit, please.
Yeah. So, as you said, the presentation and Professor Joshi's talk was really very deep, and it invokes thoughts at very different, levels. And it reminds me, Sri Aurobindo's one of the dream out of those 5 dreams, where he talked about that how through art we can have human unity, and the aspect of the unity he has mentioned to achieve through art. And mm, uh, most of I should talk only about myself, like as Professor Joshi said, that when we sit and do art, so we can do hours and hours and might not be able to sit for the meditation for hours and hours. But I feel even practicing a straight line or circle or perspectives and spending hours really feels the process is very meditative. And again, I'll come back to the same point, like in the last session when you were not there, and I mentioned that the people like Professor Joshi and others, we should come up with something which should become a part of every student to go through. And because it's so important, we make them to sit and meditate, and sometime there is a, we cannot impose the very strict spiritual practices on students, but when these are the means where we can open up their faculty and open up the, in a very subtle ways, with those are subtle on the surface, but impact is very deep. So this is what I feel.
Yes.
I completely agree what she's saying. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Dalji, I think if you can little bit, give your introduction.
Yes. So my name is Daljit Wadhwa, and I am a devotee of Mother and Sri Aurobindo since my childhood. When I was in a 9th standard, I introduced to Mother and Sri Aurobindo through one of my teacher, and since then I am reading and following them. And then I studied media, and I was practicing as a profession media. But when I looked at the situation of media industry, it was very disheartened. And that time I approached your Bindo Society to Vijay Bhai and Pradeep Bhai to we should have a art and media training center, and they really accepted my proposal. And now is the 19th year. I am a founding director of Sri Aurobindo Center for Arts and Communication in Delhi. And we have film making, photography, music, and graphic design. All these courses we train students, and we try to integrate Mother and Sri Aurobindo and many more scholars point of view on arts. So this is what is our pursuit, and I'm very happy to be part of this forum, and really look forward to work further in field of art with this lens, where we can really uplift the sense and meaning of art in masses, not only like it should become a Eliot's this thing, okay, spirituality and art only few people can understand. Not, I think that should be the way of life, where like when he was showing those images of the village women sitting and painting wall on their that is so beautiful, and that is so there is no layers on them. That is a very true self of them, and we get in touch and contact with our true selves when we practice art with that yogic bhavana, that emotions. So that is what I feel like, how to simplify, how to make it a very simple and subtle, but very impactful for the masses, for the youth, for each one of us.
So very true.
Thank you so much, Professor Joshi. I really enjoyed your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you, Daljit ji. I think please accept my humble invitation on behalf of Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center, Auro University, for sharing your views and thoughts and presentation here on this. And you trust me that students of Auro University as well as other community members, they would really appreciate the work if it is presented here. Will be reaching to many people. So I really like the way you share your views. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
And I see there are two chats from Binduji. She's writing, thanks for the nice session. It was insightful and engaging. And Rishabji, I think he's asking a question. I have one question. Do you think that there is any relation between poetry and visual art forms like painting? Narendraji, I think you would. Please.
Yeah, definitely. There is according to me, there is a relation between poetry, visual art, like painting or sculpture or digital art. For me, I mean, what little I have understood is there is relation between all the things. And pure mathematics, which is behind it, science, which is behind it. This compartmentalization is typical, work of mind or the reason, because reason excels in doing different classifications and giving names to that. But for a expression, it flows seamlessly in all. So to try to see it in a particular, you can see the rhythm or you can say the poetry goes through the chanda, or there is a sort of cyclic nature in that, which is again based on mathematics, which is called a chanda shastra. And Western people have picked it up in different names, but that is different story. But it is basically that mathematical, you can say, cyclicity, which gets, in one way, it gets connected to the poetry. In other way, it gets connected to other visual arts like painting. There is a flow. There is a, there is a tal. There is always there is a synchronicity. So when you try to make in painting also, how painting is different from some of the other arts, Sri Aurobindo explains. If you are doing a sculpture in a stone versus you are doing something in a painting, the media gives you some leverage. It gives you some advantages. It also puts some limitations on your expression. That's the beauty of it. For example, the fluidity or the colors getting more subtle and the mix of the colors with each other, that's peculiarity of a painting. Similarly, words trying to intersect each other and trying to get a different meaning from a known words coming together in a poetry to create some unusual meaning out of it. Similarly, some known colors, known shades put together in such a way that the artist is able to bring something totally different from that. These are that signs of fluidity, or you can say, harmony and the beauty which is connecting both of them. But in a way, I must say, there is as we said, unity, or there is a connectivity in all the forms, yet there is some peculiarity of each. I think that's how I can look at it. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. Satya is giving me answer. The point is, if you see the history of art and literature, they are very, very intensely influenced with each other. For example, when Romanticism was there, modernism, constructivism, all these wisdom came from art. Actually, even surrealism, it came from art, and it influenced our literature also, whether it is poetry or story or novel. So it is certainly, it has deeper relation with each other. That is what my observation is. I'm basically a student of literature and exploring art through all of you. Thank you. Yeah, please. I think, is there any, if somebody want to share, otherwise we wind up for today. And thank you, Dr. Narendra Joshi ji.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's still, I feel that Narendra ji is, I can see that lots of possibility where you can share much more. So please continue, sharing in the same area. And particularly, I would request you to share the work which you are doing. The point what I want to, in the purpose of this discourse is like remaining in present situation, because modernism brings something, some instability. And there is a discussion continuously going on about, because of that AI and other influence, although they are tools, but because of those tools, there is a kind of disconnect one can feel. But if you go to the past, as you, I think even Daljit ji has also, experienced that, you share some picture where, that old lady is doing something. It is like, sorry, it was connect was there. I remember one of my friends who shared that he's working in People Linguistics Survey of India in Gujarat. And he shared, he's an artist. He shared that earlier there was wall art was done by the, the people, local people, rather, during the festival. But gradually it is disappearing. And that disconnect, and just for ritual, they just, sprinkle some white color just to show just to, live that past experience. But it is a simply disconnect. Now they draw, sometimes you can see they draw mobile or something like motorbike, something like that. So it does not lead to spirituality. It shows present situation, but there is no spirituality, influence of spirituality in this. With this note, I, invite all of you to have discussion more deeper in this thing by understanding present situation and connecting with past and future. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll again meet on Wednesday. Thank you so much. Namaste.